Special announcement. Listen, for all of you that watched my video, Investing 2.0, and I hit a little nerve, and I told you about investing, listen, now is the time. It's time for you to put your money where your mouth is, all right? Now, we starting our investment group. People already started sending in their funds. And if you're serious about sending yours and you want to get into this investment group, hit me in the comments below or inbox me and I can tell you how to get started. Hope you ain't spend all your tax dollars, all right? So now is that time, all right? Serious inquiries only. I can't stress that enough, all right? Because we don't want to be playing around. Time to take action. Let's do this. And matter of fact, watch this episode because this was a great one, all right? Let's go. On this episode of the Fran Lover Show, we're talking about financial literacy. You know what I'm saying? Literacy. L-I-T-eracy. Right here. All right, today on the Fran Lover Show, we have a very, 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 very special guest. I call her Smiti. You call her Jessica Smith, financial advisor, tax accountant, CPA, EA, LMNOP, and my good friend, Jessica Smith. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So one of the things I want to talk to you about today, well, first, before we get to that, tell them who you are, even though I just said Jessica Smith, but tell them who you are and exactly what you do, because, I don't want to mess up all your, SSL bin stuff.
Absolutely. I am an accountant and tax professional. I have been doing accounting and tax for over almost 30 years, both. So I started my first tax practice, well, not first, but my tax practice when I was 19. It was my side hustle while I was still in school. And I did taxes for all of my friends and some of my parents' friends, and I actually still do accounting for a few of those people. But I worked in corporate America. I was made an assistant controller of a radio station at 24. I started kind of in the entertainment, doing radio, TV. I've worked for ABC. One of my last corporate jobs, I guess, was I was the director of finance, interim director of finance at Fox Television. I did that for about 8 months. But yeah.
So I got a question. What made you start doing accounting? Like, what at such a
question.
young age?
Yeah.
What made you go numbers? Like, what you was fascinated with math? What?
No, well, it wasn't. I've always been good at math, but it was kind of a hard choice because I am equally left brain, right brain. So I'm a very creative person. I actually used to draw. My major initially, I was going to be a fashion designer. I didn't even want to do numbers, but then they told me, to do fashion design, you got to get a job in retail, but I hated it. I got a job in retail. I absolutely hated it. And then I remember one weekend I watched this documentary on Sammy Davis Jr. and Red Fox, how they died penniless.
Wow.
They did not pay taxes. Actually, when Sammy Davis Jr. died, the IRS came to his home and started seizing things. And so I just was fascinated by the fact that these people worked as hard as they did and ended up with nothing. And what's crazy is that Red Fox actually filed his taxes. He just never paid them.
Deep.
Yeah. So I, decided to get on this crusade to save some people and, why is this happening? And this, there's got to be a better way. And how do we get through to people? And I saw that documentary and I happened to be sitting in accounting class. And, it was coming pretty easy to me. Everybody's like, oh, it's like a foreign language. But it was clicking and I said, I'm going to do this.
So for the people like me that, the tax for dummies, explain what's the difference. Like you said, Red Fox filed, but he didn't pay them. What's the difference? What does that mean?
What are the ramifications of that? Right. So even in terms of their penalties and things like that. So you have a failure to file penalty, which is that you just didn't file your return by the due date at all. And then you have a failure to file. So that's why when some people are like, why do I owe so much? Well, if you didn't file at all, you get one penalty. And then if you don't pay it on time, and interest accrues daily. Right. Many people don't know that, but it accrues daily.
Okay.
So you should pay, and it starts ticking the day after tax day.
So when you say he filed, just for the
So
dummies.
an accountant prepared his tax return, filed it into the IRS. The IRS said, okay, you owe this much, but that amount was not sent in.
Got you. Okay. Financial literacy. This is what I talk about a lot, and I think a lot of us don't have financial literacy. And where do we start with that?
Which is a great question. You start with just even the basics. Not to endorse anything, but like one of my favorite websites that I use and that has a wealth of information is Investopedia. They have so much information you can type in. You can even Google online what is money. I think that where we need to start is that we don't even understand the concept or basis of money. Money for us is this elusive thing that we're always trying to go after and try to attract. We don't play it like it's a game. And I think that that's the difference between us and other people, us being African Americans and other people, is that other races, it's a challenge, it's a game, it's a process. And so we don't look at it or view it that way. Robert Kiyosaki talks about how, it's a game.
Right, like the cash flow quadrant, that game that
Exactly. And that's what it is, but we don't think about
play
it that way. Yeah.
I know maybe one or two friends. Maybe I say one that plays that game, but that's one friend out of the many friends that I have.
Yeah.
So it's like I can remember as far back as learning about money in school, but it was very minimal.
Yeah.
Like they would teach you how to balance a checkbook.
Yes.
I think that's good, but at the same time, when you're so little, because they try to teach you how to open up your own bank account, and I think stuff like that it needs to happen more so now.
Well, no, because let me tell you, you start, and that's the other key. You got to start planting the seeds early. It's just how you do it.
Right.
So, for example, I taught my son Ethan how to bank at 6.
Good.
Ethan's been banking since he's 6. Now Ethan's actually investing. But Ethan started at 6, and what I did was I took him to the bank. And once, I picked 6 because he was in kindergarten and he could write legibly. And he didn't, hypothetically legibly, as legibly as possible. But when he could write his name on his own, and when I could call out numbers and he could write them, so I just told him where to write. So your name goes here. So he filled out the deposit slip. Your amount goes here. Your whatever, your bank account, and I would go 5. Put the 5 in this box. And is it perfect? No, it looked crazy. Right. But he learned. And so what we did was we had 2 jobs on Saturdays. We did B&B, which is barbershop and bank. Okay. And he had to go get groomed. So now I teach him, like, okay, he's asking me now when we came out, he's like, oh, can we hit the barber mine? Because I didn't go before we left. Right. So, barbershop and bank. And we went every week because repetition is mother's skill. So every Saturday he knows it's time to do our banking. And I'd give him $2, $5, $1, whatever I felt like at the time. And he would fill it out and he'd go. And so maybe after like the 3rd time he said, oh, I keep putting all my money in here, but I don't know how much I have now. And I said, well, that's called a balance. So next time you have to go ask, may I have my balance? So where we start is that we need to first start with financial goals, which is something else that we don't do. Map out a plan. What is it that you're trying to do? Because that's the other thing. I'm actually doing a webinar tonight talking about do your investment vehicles have a financial destination? Okay. And what that means is do you have a financial plan for the dollars that you're making? What many of us do is we take our money, and we also don't think about long term. We don't think about what 60-year-old Jessica, 65-year-old Jessica is going to need. We're only trying to get through the right now. Right. And so one of the things we may do is just dump our money into the company 401k. We don't know if it has a match. We don't know what it has. And there's other vehicles out there that may be better than what your plan has, but we're not willing to do the research. Right. How many times, if you do have a 401k, do you actually look at it? Do you know if it grew 5% interest? Do you know if it grew 9% interest? Do you even know what your expected interest rate should be? Right. So, it starts with with learning and educating yourself on one, what you're trying to do, and then two, what's the best vehicle to do it. Because, if you decide, well, I want to accumulate assets and I want to accumulate wealth, then yours may be real estate.
Okay.
If you want to get in the game of, well, I want some money in a year, I want it to be, I want to see if I can get some quick money, then you may look at stocks, because you can get in and some things grow and you flip it. So your financial goals, which your life goals, play a very important role in your financial literacy, because depending on what you're trying to do will depend on the vehicle that you use to get there.
Got you. Another thing I want to talk to you about was generational wealth. How do we get started with generational wealth? Because I know that's a long-term thing, as you was talking about long-term, and that's handed down from generation to generation to generation. And a lot of times African Americans don't have that. I mean, you probably have, I'm not going to say we don't have it, but very few that we can name, like maybe like a Bob Johnson that started BET. Who else? Possibly Oprah. Who they're going to leave their money to, and they pass on the generational wealth to their kids and the kids' kids and the kids' kids. How do we get started with that, and what are some of the steps that we can take to start that?
Okay. With that, you and I had a conversation before about how we have to have the mindset of wealth building. And so even like with the jobs we take or the things that we do, and we have to put that time in. So for example, if you know that at some point your goal is to accumulate wealth, some people want to follow their dreams. A lot of people decide, oh, I'm just going to follow my dream. But if your dream is not something that accumulates wealth, then you may want to think of something else. Like for example, sometimes I wonder if I did follow fashion design, I maybe would have been a top designer. Who knows? Right. But you have to make sure that your job, for example, we will get in a job, and if that job pays our bills each month, and it's it's a job, then we'll stay there. But are you getting a raise? What are your raises coming? What's the what other benefits does it provide? Does it allow you the time to do other things? So generational wealth and savings. So you got to make it count. You got to at least put in, and depending on when you start. If you start at 25 years old and you know that you're trying to build a legacy, then you got to at least put 200, 300, 400 away a month. If you can do more than you need, obviously the more you can put away, then the more you'll have. There was a gentleman by the name of Ronald Reed who passed away. He was a gas station attendant. He lived in a little town somewhere in Vermont. He was a gas station attendant and janitor. They said that he used to paperclip his sweater together. Wow. But when he died, his family found out he was worth $8 million. No one even knew he had this money. Not even his family. But they said he had a robust stock portfolio, and he invested and was good at it. So you don't even need, a lot of people say, oh, we need to be rich. You just need to, again, play the game. You need to get in the game, though, and you need to get in the game with some money. It doesn't, if you're getting in the game with, $50 a month, that's obviously not going to put a dent. But then the second piece for generational wealth is going back to what you said. It doesn't matter, because if we accumulate this wealth and we don't educate our children, then it's not going to skip generation. I mean, it's not going to continue generations, right. Because the minute we get it, we got to ball out. We got to buy cars. We got to show everybody. We are not willing to sacrifice and walk around with paper clips in our sweater. Right,
and I think that's a big problem. Well, for me, definitely. I mean, we all want nice things.
Yeah.
We all want nice things. I want nice things. I would love a Range Rover when it comes. But anyway, I would love that. But the first thing we do, like, let's just say in the hip hop generation, not to, disrespect them or anything. I'm just saying, but the first thing we do, of course, is buy the chain, buy the car, and still live in the projects, which makes no sense.
None.
But your mother's still where she is, in a bad neighborhood. Now, I know a lot of older people, they don't want to leave their neighborhood because they're used to it and they can get around and so on and so forth. But just that mindset, that's what you was talking about earlier. The mindset, I'm like, you're driving around a high-priced car in your neighborhood with other people that's not making money like how you're making. They're jealous of you. you're spending all this money and you don't have no financial literacy, and you're going back to the project and parking your car in the projects and saying, nobody better not touch my car.
Right.
Which is, it's backwards.
Or we
It's
have a
backwards.
waste mentality, like because we like, we all, what do we say? We got money to
Yeah,
burn.
we
And you don't have, but you shouldn't be burning it. You
Right.
should be investing it. Like we
Right.
don't, oh, I crashed up this car. Oh, it's okay. I'm just going to go buy another one. And we buy into, which is a great point, we buy into the stereotype of what being wealthy means.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, and what we see on TV and what we see people buying and doing, you didn't see Michael Jordan on TV flash. You knew he had a big house,
Right.
and he had nice clothes. You may see him out golfing. Yeah, he had a nice car, but he wasn't just out, just... He wasn't at the club. He wasn't at the strip clubs. If he was, you didn't know about it, and it was in the closed door. You know what I mean? He wasn't flaunting it. He didn't wear his things around his neck for people to, jack him on the street, as you said. Like, we just don't do that. And we don't go and put it in... a lot of us don't go buy property. Right. Like you said, we'll have a great car and still live in an apartment. I've had clients that do that. I had a client that had 3 cars. One at the mom's house, one at his house, one at somebody else's house, still live in an apartment. I don't...
Yeah, it's a little... You only drive one car at one time. And again, it's not hate at all. It's not hate. It's like just educating yourself on how to do things. I mean, if you want 2 cars, great. You want 3, great. But as long as you're able to have the means to do it, and it makes sense. Well, y'all know what I'm saying. I'm saying it the hood way. She knew how to say it the real way.
No. And speaking of
you gotta
hood,
have the means. You can't spend more than you make, and we do that all the time.
Well, the thing is that you just said it. It's hood rich. When you're hood rich, you're really not rich. You're rich by your standards and by the people in the hood who view you as being rich. But if we put you up against somebody else, you're not rich.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
so you've got to educate yourself. Warren Buffett said that LeBron James has a great business mind. We don't even know. LeBron James has TV shows.
Yep.
LeBron James has, because he takes his money, and again, it's part of the image that you give people a glimpse into your house and that you're doing well and you get paid for doing well. But he's got a lot of other stuff going on that we don't even know about.
Yep, I just watched this TV show called Cleveland Hustle, if I'm correct. It's like The Prophet on CNBC. And I watched the first episode, it was really good. I was like, so I need to check that out, Cleveland Hustle by LeBron James. If I'm correct, that was the name.
And he has a game show that's about to start, I think, on Channel 5, if it hasn't started already.
He's doing the right thing, and he put on his whole team, sent everybody to school, made everybody get their degrees, and his homeboys that he grew up with all his life. So he's putting his money to good use is the whole point I'm trying to make.
Yep, exactly. And Luda did the same thing. Ludacris hired one of his friends, sent him to culinary school. Now he's a chef. Like, those are the things that we need to do. We need to build up our people and build up our unit, and then, be able to move forward.
Right.